Well, if you can avoid filling up your gas tank today, your wallet will thank you. As of midnight, you may have noticed already, the average price of gas in the GTA jumped about $1.90.9 a litre. That's up 6 cents from yesterday. Analysts suggesting the pricey petrol, though, is here to stay, leaving drivers and entire countries looking for a relief. Now, for a look right now at the delicate supply and demand in oil, in part causing these record high gas prices, Randy Ollenberger is joining us. He's an energy analyst at BMO Capital Markets. Randy, thanks so much for being here. So let's talk about the current situation here. The U.S., Canada, and the UK all kind of getting out of Russian oil. And even though they don't necessarily provide that much of our oil, it has a major impact on the markets. Can you explain to our audience how this is sort of playing out and ending up at the pumps the way we are?
Sure, Nick. Yeah. I mean, the reality is, Russia is the largest exporter of oil and products in the world. And that's really what's driving prices higher here. There's really no way to make up for any shortfall in Russian exports. And that's what's pushing up oil prices and creating the potential that oil prices could go even higher. And of course, gasoline just will follow those oil prices higher. So as long as this conflict continues and the risk of further disruption continues, we're going to see some pretty elevated prices.
So, Randy, you talk about no sort of solution to make up for that shortfall. There are, people talking in Canada this week saying, well, we're kind of swimming in oil, swimming in the ability to produce oil, but we're limited in our opportunities to do that. And it's kind of reinvigorating some conversations. As an energy analyst, what are you hearing and what do you see that Canada could contribute to the global market, albeit you can't just flip a switch and start flowing oil?
Sure. I mean, Canada is actually, the fifth largest oil exporter in the world. So we are a major player on major exporter already. But the reality is our pipelines are full. So there's really no way to put more oil into those export markets, whether it's the United States or whether it's Europe. And so we're a little bit hindered in our ability to do that. Now, we could send some more oil by rail. But again, it takes some time to ramp up some of these oil sands developments, which would be the major source of incremental supply. So it's very unlikely that Canada can really contribute much in terms of extra supply to the market, say, over the next 12 months.
Okay, and what about Keystone XL? Of course, that was something Joe Biden canceled, much to the disappointment of a lot of people, Canadian, particularly in the oil patch. Is that completely dead, or have you been hearing any talks about people saying, hey, you know what, if we could get Keystone running, we can get more sort of quote unquote clean oil from an ally rather than, enemies in particular?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously it's too bad it's not running. We would be producing more oil and taking advantage of that as a country. But, TC Energy's come out and said they have no interest in restarting it. The province of Alberta has said they'd like to see it restarted. But it's probably highly unlikely that the Biden administration would reverse course on that. And of course, it would take some time. So, by the time that pipeline was up and running, the conflict may be over.
Okay, Randy, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but you are an analyst, so you are looking at things. How unpredictable, though, is the energy market right now because of what's happening with Russia and Ukraine?
It's probably the most unpredictable it's been since the 1970s. So we haven't had a potential supply disruption of this magnitude really since the Arab oil embargo or the Iranian Revolution in the 1970s. Now, of course, we haven't actually seen that level of disruption yet, but the potential's there. And so it's a very volatile market.
Is there any reason why OPEC may increase the supply at this point, Randy, or is that off the table too?
OPEC will be meeting at the end of this month, and they will increase by at least 400,000 barrels a day, possibly more. But the reality is, OPEC can probably only put another 2 million barrels a day of oil in the market. Russia, of course, exports 7.5 million barrels a day of oil and product. So even if OPEC were to push all out, they really couldn't make up for that potential loss of supply.
Okay, Randy Ollenberger, thanks so much for helping us understand this. He's an energy analyst at BMO Capital Markets. Appreciate the time this morning. Thanks, Randy.
My pleasure.